Howdy, howdy. Welcome back to my channel, Passion Theory, where I share with you some of my passions. Some of my passions have to do with spooky things, and it is the spooky season. And so, let me tell you a spooky story. See, I was going to do this in the dark with my little candle friend here, kind of like casting spooky vibes, but my current camera situation does not allow me to film in the dark. You couldn't see anything except for just the candle, which I guess would be kind of spooky, but anyway. So I had to go with just this. So the reason I like spooky things like horror movies and haunted houses and Halloween and just ghost hunting and anything to do with scary stuff is because I grew up hearing ghost stories and paranormal stories that happened to my grandma, that my mom told me, that her mom had told her, and then stories of things that happened to my mom, and then things would happen to me as well. And that's actually why my mom started telling me the stories, because first she was telling me like, you know, oh, that's, yeah, similar stuff has happened to me before. Like, I believe you. As I would tell my dad, and he wouldn't believe me. So my mom's like, oh, I believe you, because stuff like that's happened to me before. And then she'd tell me some of the stories. And as I got older, she would tell me some of the more scary stories. When I was younger, it was like, oh yeah, it was kind of like you, and then this happened. And she never put these ideas in my head. Like, I came to her first, like, hey, when I was like little, you know, and I would be telling about like one of my stuffed animals that moved or something that really freaked me out, and she'd be like, yeah, that's happened to me before. And she never said she didn't believe me or anything. And sometimes stuff happened in front of her, so she saw it too. Or it was me and my brother. Or, you know, I've had stuff happen in front of other people and they saw it too. It wasn't just like a all in my head type of a thing. So, anyway, I think we will start this spooky season at the very, very beginning of the stories I know. And that is with my grandmother. So, if you don't know anything about my grandmother, you can go ahead and check out some of my other stories. I mean, like my last story time tells kind of like my family heritage and all that, and you'll get a more idea of like who she is and stuff like that. But so now these stories that I'm going to tell my grandma and my mom, some of the details might be wrong, a little bit off, because you got to remember it's been a long time since I've really done these stories with my mom, and I can't check with her because I'm in no contact with my mom, so I can't go and ask her. I did record, I believe there's a game called Equinox, and while I was playing I told some of these stories. So if you want to check those out, those ones I did have like a contact with my mom at that time. So I will tell you the stories to the best of my ability because, you know, I wasn't there. So the ones I was there for, I can tell you. So, the very first story happens when my mom was a very little girl. Not my mom, my grandma was a very little girl, and she woke up in the middle of the night and she saw her grandmother at the foot of her bed. And it really scared her. Something about her grandmother scared her. She looked normal, but something about her grandmother scared her. Her grandmother wasn't doing anything scary. She was just standing there looking at her. And then, she went, she couldn't go, she screamed and everyone woke up. And, they were trying to ask her what was wrong. and she told them, Grandma's dead. Grandma died. I saw her. And then they were trying to calm her down. And about 10 minutes later, they lived in a very small, like, family, family lived nearby. And the, her uncle, my grandma's uncle, walked over to their house to tell them that their mother had just passed. The grandmother, the mother of the uncle and the mom had just passed recently, like that night. I believe she lived with the uncle, the grandmother did, about the same time that she had screamed and woke everyone up. So that's one thing. Another thing is, I will not be using my relatives' real names in this. Just nicknames and names I make up for them. So, there you go. So, another story is when she was a teenager, she lived away from home and she kept having these. Oh, wait, no, I'll tell this other one about her aunt. It was similar. I'm trying to tell them in order. No, the aunt happened after. Okay. So she was living away from home because she was an adult, and she kept dreaming that her father was going to die, that someone was going to murder him. Okay. And you got to remember that her father was a black man in Florida, and this was around the time that there were, you know, problems happening and deaths happening, and murders occurring and stuff like that. So she had a reason to be worried anyway. And so she wrote him a letter, and she didn't think it would get there in time. I forgot to mention, in the letter, she had mentioned that he should not walk alone, to walk in a group, and to avoid walking anywhere alone, especially at night. And he was murdered at night in an alley while he was walking alone. So, there you go. She just had a feeling it wouldn't get there in time. So, she was like, okay, I'm going to take the bus, and I'm going to go there. So, she takes the bus, and she's getting off the bus station in Florida, in the town that her father lives in. And at the station, the bus station waiting for her, is a sheriff. And he says, hey, are you Miss? And she says, yes, that's me. And they said, we're sorry to inform you, but your father is dead. And so she knew. Now, her father, we later found out, is a spirit that's been watching over the family, especially the little children of the family, and especially the little children of the family that seem to attract paranormal things. And I'll get into the why of that maybe next spooky story time. So, because there's lots of stories with that particular spirit in it. So, my cat is on my laptop. Hang on. Bad. Don't let her fool you. I'm not hurting her. I'm just holding her gently. She's 20 years old, you guys. I got her when I was 15. Found her outside. She doesn't look 20, does she? She looks very good for her age. There you go. You know you're not supposed to be on the laptop, though. You know so much better. Okay, where was I? There's cat fluffs. Oh gosh, they're shedding so bad. So, where was I? Oh, there was another time that when she was a little girl, I should have told this one first, that she had a horrible feeling her uncle used to drive on a motorcycle, and her dad would drive with him, like either borrow it or they'd like double up on the motorcycle, and she had a feeling her dad would die on it. And she told both of them not to use the motorcycle anymore. She told her uncle and her dad not to use that motorcycle anymore. And her dad, having seen her over and over predict things by this point in her life, promised to never use the motorcycle again. And then a couple weeks later, her uncle was got into a horrible motorcycle accident. And I don't remember if he actually died or not, but if her dad had been on there, he most likely would have. So, there you go. Another thing that happened to my grandmother was after she married my grandfather, they decided to move into a bigger home. And this was in Virginia or West Virginia. I can't remember off the top of my head. And I'm not going to go looking up the details right now because I'm just telling you these oral family stories as they were told me and as I remember them. They're spooky stories. The exact things don't really matter. So, they found a dairy farm for sale, and my grandfather was all about, like, he's like, yes, we can turn this into a business, and it has a large house with lots of rooms so we can have even more kids, because they had like 2 at the time. And a lot of weird things happened on that farm. A lot of really weird things. And that might be where we pick up for next story time. So until then, make sure you make room for your own passions. I'll see you next time. Bye. Stay spooky!